Welcome back to the Digital Forge. I'm David Richards. This is part 2 of my conversation with Pam Liversidge. In part 1, we explored her journey from being the only woman on a mechanical engineering degree course to becoming a successful entrepreneur in Sheffield's manufacturing sector. In this episode, we move into the years where Pam didn't just succeed inside institutions, she changed them. Pam, welcome back.
Good to be here.
So, in 1997, you became the first female president of the Institute of Mechanical Engineers. That was a huge moment.
Yes, it was. I've been a member of the institution since I was a student, and it, of course, was how I had my professional qualification. I was a chartered member. I'd been active in the local branch, which is, all of these institutions have regional branches. And it was suggested I should seek election to the governing council. So I just became one of a group of nearly 80 people who were on the governing council, and we represented the various divisions, i.e. specialist subjects, and also the regions, the geographical region. So that was interesting. I was busy working at the day job and going to meetings in the evening, and then I was approached by one of the deputy presidents who said, had I ever considered doing something more important within the institution, and how about allow my name to go forward to be a vice president. And there were a number of vice presidents. It was only once you became a deputy president that you were actually on track to stand for election as president. So I did a couple of years as vice president, and then I was approached to put my name forward for election as a deputy president, and I knew then that there was prospect of me becoming president. And the institution was coming up to its 150th anniversary, because we were founded in 1847 by George Stephenson and 57 interested railway mechanics in Birmingham. So Doug and I had a serious conversation. Was this something that I was prepared to do? Because like being Master Cutler, it's a year out of your life. And even more so because, of course, it's based in London.
Yep.
The institution's headquarters are 1 Birdcage Walk. And there wasn't a guarantee that I would be elected. The institution has had some very eminent people as president. So,
like who? Who's been president? Who was president before you?
Well, apart from George Stephenson and Robert Stephenson. No, I won't go through a litany of the great and the good. So I went back and said, yes, okay, my husband and I have discussed it, and I'll put my name on the ballot sheet. And I was elected by the membership to become a deputy president, and then eventually my name went on the ballot sheet a couple of years later as president. So I was elected in time for the 150th anniversary year. Wow. And that was a very special moment. But of course, the first thing you do as president is, once you're given the presidential badge, it's a bit like at the Cutlers Company, it's the annual meeting and the badge is handed over. But the first thing you do is you give a lecture to your peers.
What was your lecture on?
My lecture was about how engineers have actually added value to society and changed life for the better for the ordinary person. Mm-hmm. And it took me weeks and weeks to write it. And I had enormous support from various companies I approached for photographs and information. And the institution reprinted the printed version of my lecture 3 times for schools.
Really?
Because I basically took the conditions that the ordinary person lived in Victorian England when we were formed as an institution, and took various aspects from transport to medical conditions to the sort of homes that people lived in, and compared them with what we had now and some of the engineers who made the difference to people's lives. And then the last part of my lecture was to talk about medical technology and some of the advances that had been made from keyhole surgery through to facial implants. And a number of companies gave me some fairly slightly gory pictures. There was one of a lady who'd had her face reconstructed because she'd had cancer.
Yeah.
And she'd had a facial implant done at Doncaster, I think it was. So the message I was trying to get across was that engineers are more than solvers of problems. We're the people who make the difference to the ordinary person's life. So that was, and I used what politicians use a lot, the perspex screens, because I had so much to say that I had to keep the pace of it going, and I couldn't afford to digress. It was a lot in that lecture.
How many times did you practice that? It sounds like it was pretty complicated.
Yes, it was. I did several dry runs beforehand, and it was also getting all the photographs, because I had something like 100 photographs or charts to show in that hour's lecture, as well as all the content to get across. And I gave the lecture in One Birdcage Walk. When I did the presidential visit to Northern Ireland and to Éire, I gave it in Dublin. And Gareth, who was Vice-Chancellor of Sheffield University at that time, asked me to come up to Sheffield University and give the lecture there as well.
Wow. So obviously you're smashing through another glass ceiling here by becoming the first female president of the Institute of Mechanical Engineers. Were you conscious about doing this? Was it something that you wanted to do?
I was very conscious of it with the institution because it had so much history.
Yeah.
And it was also a very eminent organisation. And it was an international organisation. I went to Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, France, Ireland, somewhere else. So there was a fair amount of international travel going out to see our members. The thing that was very heartening was I also visited just about, I think, every regional centre that we had in the UK. And the support from the membership was huge. There was no suggestion that they were thinking twice about the fact they'd now got a woman as president. It was quite the reverse.
Did you, I know you launched a program, I think it was called the Moving Forward program.
Oh, yes.
So just tell us a little bit about what that is, because obviously you did this and you thought, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to make a difference.
The institution was losing its way somewhat. And I think a lot of that was following what the Engineering Council was doing when it made becoming chartered. You had to effectively have an MEng. It was a 4-year course. We'd lost our connection with what were termed incorporated engineers, which was never a very successful idea. But we'd lost touch with the HND guys and gals.
Yeah.
And people were made to feel they weren't really welcome, who had come through the vocational route and who didn't have a master's or a PhD. We were becoming very academically driven. We were becoming quite elitist. And my view was that the future of the institution had to be one where everyone was welcomed within those 4 walls, that we were a broad church, because the people who'd founded us were railway mechanics, they called themselves.
Yeah.
They weren't PhDs and academics. They were people who worked on machinery and developed the machinery of the time.
Yeah.
And we were on the way to becoming a very small organisation. Financially, that wasn't viable, as a number of the institutions have found out over the years. The Institute of Mechanical Engineers has had, in the past, some financial challenges. So my message was that we needed to find a way of encouraging everyone who had any interest in engineering, whether that's a STEAM enthusiast to an academic with umpteen PhDs. Everybody was welcome.
Yeah.
Everybody should be made to feel valued. And the Moving Forward programme was part of that, as well as how we organised ourselves, developing our plan for the next 10 years and how we worked with other institutions and worked with government.
How do organisations like this lose their way from being founded by Stevensons and then becoming this overly academic, theoretical organisation, less of the we don't want people that do HNDs and practical stuff who can actually make stuff, for goodness sake. We just want the theoretical guys. How does that happen?
I think it's a creeping situation. And the only way I can think of it is that over a period of time we'd had very eminent engineers, but by eminent that meant that they were probably quite theoretical, or they were heads of very large organisations such as Parsons, GC, and they felt that it was really a place for only very successful people.
Yeah.
And they were largely men who were very clubbable. I'm probably doing them an injustice, but it was almost a drift.
Yeah, it's the same. Every institution, if you whether it's the Cutlers, whether it's any institution, if it becomes the same demographic, it does, as you said, it does seem to drift like that. So this was now almost 20 years ago. I've not looked this up. How many?
30 years.
30 years ago. God, it is.
Years.
I can't add up.
30
it is
years
30
next year.
Did those changes stick?
They lasted for 10 years. And then what happened, my second day as president, I got the vice president, the deputy president, and we left the headquarters, and one of the vice presidents was able to get an office at his, he worked for British Rail. I basically said to them, I cannot do this in my year. I am 12 months. I am one person.
Yeah.
If we're going to tackle this, I have to have your support. We've all got to sign on the dotted line, because this is a long-term effort. What we need is a strategy for the organisation that is quite clear, we're all signed up to, and that we can disseminate and is supported by the membership, because it's not going to work otherwise.
Yeah.
And what we agreed to do was bring in consultants to work through a variety of work streams, work with the membership, work with the staff, as well as work with the elected council, and put our proposals forward and to help us develop a strategy, but more importantly, help us to develop a plan for implementation.
Yep.
Because there's lots of strategies sitting on shelves. It's what you do with it that's important.
So basically, you signed up, even though you were doing this for 12 months, which it always concerns me with institutions like the Institute of Mechanical Engineers and the Cutlers Company. We'll come to later, that 12 months is not enough time to effect a change. So you put in place a program that was going to take this through the next decade, basically.
Yes, I thought if this takes us forward 5 years, because I effectively got the next 5 years of presidents with me, then we'll do well. In reality, it served the institution for 10 years. Yeah,
because those people then hire the same, and it proliferates. How many, in the past 30 years, what have the demographics been like? How many women, for example, have been the president?
There have been 2 other women who have been president after me, but there's quite a long gap. And one of the things that used to drive me was I have to do a good job. I have to make sure that the membership feel that they have elected the right person and that they are proud of me as their president, because otherwise they won't elect another woman.
Oh, my goodness. It's a lot of pressure, isn't it, really?
Well, it is. Or perhaps it was pressure I put myself under. But I think the reality of it was that had I made some serious errors, and I'm enormously grateful to the support that I had and the guidance I had from Doug, who would occasionally say, do you really want to do that? Perhaps you've got to think about that.
Yeah.
Had I not, at the end of it, had people say, we felt that you have made a difference, we're proud of you, we're glad you were president, then it would have been very easy to say, well, women can't do these sort of things. We don't want another woman.
Oh dear. It's horrendous, really, isn't it? It strikes me as being quite an important platform for you personally.
Yes, it was.
It enabled you to convey ideas. It enabled you to affect change.
I think it was a very visible demonstration that engineering was a career for women, and that you could get to the top if you define the top as being head of an eminent engineering institution. But also, I come up a different route to many of my peers and those before me. I hadn't gone through the ranks of a very large company. I'd come up through small companies. I'd had my own business. And I think that was another message to say that you can be successful even through small business.
So I know that you've done a lot to bring engineering and medicine closer together. And you're actually involved in helping create, as I understand it, the Association of Institutions in Medical Engineering.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, obviously at Thornton, I'd been involved in making lots of medical implants and instruments. Doug, having been chairman of Surgical Innovations, and I understood what their work was entailed. And I'd always felt very strongly that there's an enormous amount of engineering in medicine and healthcare. And we'd got a number of academics as within the institution who were members, as well as representative of companies. But there wasn't a forum for both the academics, the people working in organisations and other institutions to actually be able to work together under one umbrella. So in conversation, I think it was with someone from Brunel University, we felt it was an opportunity for me to use the platform I had to draw people in and to say, you have this forum and you will benefit from your conversations and joint working.
And what effect do you think it's had, and what do you think the opportunity is for the UK in this area?
Well, I think the UK has a tremendous opportunity, has an excellent reputation for innovation. I think one of the downsides in the UK is the NHS is such a behemoth. It is so difficult to work with. Mm-hmm. I mean, Medilink that Doug was talking about earlier, of which he founded, that has been an important organisation to get into the NHS for even some larger manufacturers, let alone small ones.
Yep.
So I think bringing the institutions and the membership of institutions together to then be able to feed into our NHS was an important thing to do. I'm now out of touch with it. I'm enormously glad that I was able to be a founder of it.
Let's just move on now to civic leadership and the Master Cutler, which I'm very every time I go in the building, I see your portrait on the wall. So you served as High Sheriff of South Yorkshire in 2004, 2005. Did you enjoy that?
Yes, I did. If nothing else, it introduced me to a different group of people. The criminal justice system was completely unknown to me until I became High Sheriff. It's very ceremonial, but it is also...
I don't really like the outfit, I've got to say.
No.
You do look a bit like a Morris dancer, don't you, when you know, that the frills and all that.
Well, the men do who wear Victorian court dress.
Yeah.
I mean, the women are lucky. They can choose what they're going to wear.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yes. I chose to wear, firstly, purple velvet and not black, and I had a skirt and a fitted jacket, but I did have some nice hats.
Do you get a sword with that job, or is it?
You do. There is a sword that's handed on to each High Sheriff of well, in South Yorkshire, there's one sword that gets handed on, and I think it was Stocksbridge Engineering who produced the sword. But Lady High Sheriffs are not allowed to wear it. You have a sword bearer. I don't know whether that's changed, but in my time, I had a young lady who at big events like the Joint Legal Service up in York Minster, she walked in front of me carrying my sword.
Because, I mean, the main job is to look after the judges when they come into town, as I understand it.
That's one of the major roles, is you are a link between the High Court judges and the local community, the civic community. So it gives them the opportunity to meet people they otherwise wouldn't meet. But the other role you have is you are a focal point for the criminal justice system, in the sense that you have a summer reception and you invite everyone from magistrates to people from the probation service, as well as the judges themselves, and they all, and the local mayors and Lord Mayor. So you're able to bring everyone together.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it cost more than I thought, but I enjoyed it.
Because you've got to pay for all the dinners and things, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then in 2011, you became the first female Master Cutler in the 387-year history, not the mere 150 at the mechanical engineers of the Cutlers Company. Obviously, I'm a member of the Cutlers Company, along with you and Doug. And how did that feel? Because it was, I mean, it's hard to explain unless you know the Cutlers Company how extraordinary it must have been to be the first female to do that job, because it's a long time. And it's good to hear actually that the late great Sir Hugh Sykes was behind this as well. Were you surprised? First of all, did you want to do it, and were you surprised? And obviously,
well, of course, you come into the company a few years before you become Master Cutler. So it's not an overnight.
Yeah.
It's not like being elected as an MP type thing.
Yeah.
So funnily enough, like Doug, I joined as a senior searcher, but I had been approached a couple of times previously about joining the Cutlers Company, and we discussed it and decided, did we really want to go round that particular circuit again, and all that it entailed, not least is the financial commitment, which is significant, but also the year out of your life. And it was a year out of both of our lives.
Yeah.
I knew a lot about the Cutlers Company because I'd been Mistress Cutler when Doug was Master, I had this slightly unreal experience of 1 minute I'm president of an institution with 80,000 engineers around the world, to suddenly becoming the mistress and being addressed as the mistress, and very much the supporting act. Not that I minded supporting my darling husband, that was great, but it was quite surreal from becoming president to Mistress Cutler. So I knew a lot about the company, but I didn't want to rain on Doug's parade, so to speak. He'd held that role, and I wasn't seeking to repeat and to try and shine brighter than he'd shone. And I'd enjoy being High Sheriff. So the thought of another significant public duty wasn't high on my priority list at that time. But then as we went through the early 2000s and we thought about it, and I was approached again, I thought, this is almost the last throw of the dice, and it is a unique opportunity.
Yeah.
And it is an opportunity to say to this county, if not the wider world, that the Cutlers Company's moved on.
Yeah.
Just as the world has moved on.
Yeah. Do you think that by the fact that you became the Master Cutler, do you think it made that statement?
I think it did for the Cutlers Company.
Yeah.
I think I think the company has been trying for a very long time to dismiss the image of it's a gentleman's dining club.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, if they've elected a woman as Master Cutler, it's not a gentleman's dining club.
Yeah.
And it's not an elderly gentleman's dining club, because I know what my age is, but certainly when I became Master Cutler, I don't think I looked my age.
Yeah.
It was really about trying to say to everyone, we are a different organisation now.
Yeah. How do you feel about some of the nomenclature that we use? So we use master, that's historic. I get it. It does have negative connotations now, and I some people do flag that up to me. But Mistress Cutler, how do you? I mean, is there a better phrase that we could use than that? Do you think, or do you think it's just tradition? How do you feel about it?
I think it is. It is very easy to lose traditions, very hard to start them.
Yeah.
Doug decided that he wasn't going to carry the title of Mistress Cutler, and that's very understandable. So we decided he would be the consort to the master. And I felt quite strongly that the mistress had her own role. She has her own beautiful office.
Yeah.
And when I was Mistress Cutler, there were a number of organisations that you automatically, ex officio, became president or head of, like Towns Women's Guild, Sheffield Floral Club, this type of thing. And my concern was, once we lost a year of the Mistress Cutler, then perhaps we would lose it completely. And there were others following on from me, other masters whose wives did want to be the Mistress Cutler.
Yeah.
And it's just a name.
Yeah.
It is historical. I don't get excised about nomenclature. The term chairman, and I always insist, I'm chairman of the Halls Committee, as you know.
Yeah.
I am chairman. I am not the chair. I am not a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
And the manus in chairman comes from, or the man is from manus, and it means human.
Do you know what? I'd never thought of it like that before.
Well, it was an academic from Oxford who told me that. So it has to be right, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's really interesting. And a good retort, by the way. I'm going to steal that. What impact do you think the Cutlers Company has today? I mean, it essentially started out as a trade organisation.
Yeah. Do
you think, and you use the phrase dining club, which I've heard leveled at the company before. Where do you think it stands today? And if you could change anything, what do you think you'd change?
Oh, golly. I think it has broadened its accessibility now from, of course, it moved from cutlery to including the steel barons to then manufacturing. And now we have a much broader
tech guys.
Yeah. It's about all the aspects of manufacturing, hence the tech guys.
Yeah.
I think it has a role to be a local forum for all those different aspects of industry and manufacturing to get together. And I think for younger people in particular, it has taken the place of the chambers. What used to be EEF and is now Make UK is a national organisation, whereas the Cutlers Company provides South Yorkshire with its own homemade base and network and home for manufacturing and for industry. And we're also the guardians of an important artefact or piece of heritage for this part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Cutlers feast the other night. We were all discussing it. The Governor of the Bank of England turned up, which was great. I just wish his speech would have been slightly.
Yes, and I wish a lot of us could have heard it clearly.
Yeah, I know it was. Yes, it was really great. And actually, I was talking to somebody and he did stay and did the whole of the next day, which is really good to hear. So I think the action was really good. The Governor of the Bank of England came here, was really interested, did the tour of all the companies, I think they went to the MRC, among other things. I think there was a speech to be given that both as a member of the Cutlers Company and somebody that lives in South Yorkshire, would have been nice to hear something about how we're going to get out of this sort of mess that we're in and what that would mean for manufacturing. And I think there was a missed opportunity there. That's all I would say to him. I think there was an opportunity to deliver a very powerful, thought-provoking speech.
And you're absolutely right. Just finishing talking about the role of the Cutlers Company. Doug had been the education advisor to the Cutlers Company for many, many years. And Bill Spears was the master before me, and we both felt that we needed an initiative to introduce young people to the world of work, to develop their resilience, their understanding of what is needed to be successful in their lives. And so what we now call the Better Learners, Better Workers started, and that started with the Cutlers curriculum.
Yeah.
And thanks to the support of Sheffield City Council, and Doug actually was the person, role reversal here. It was, if you like, my idea, and he worked on this.
Here's the idea, you go and figure out the details.
But that has had an important means of raising the profile of the Cutlers Company, and I think does an important thing within our region.
Actually, that segues nicely on your work with WISE and other initiatives where you've spent decades championing women in STEM. Now, what's always interesting about these is I now know, I think, why that's important to you based on your own history and going back to the teenager thinking about a career in engineering. Is that why? Is that why it's so important to you?
Yes, because I had no one to say to me, this is what it's about. This is what you will have to do. These are the challenges you may have to face, but you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Is a lot of that also because you were the only woman in the room, the only female in the room, whether it was doing your A-levels, the first day doing your degree, the first day at GKN, etc., etc., etc. Are you trying to change that?
Well, I have tried to change it over the years, and I think today we're still only at around 15-20% of women at undergraduate level on engineering courses, but they are much more accepted. They're viewed as being equal to the boys around them.
Yeah.
There isn't we don't want her in our team, because I'm still involved to some extent with Sheffield University with the Industrial Advisory Board, and spent quite a bit of time over the last few years with the what they now call general engineering course, and you see the young people working together, and the girls are critical to the success of the teams.
Yeah,
they do amazing things.
Yeah, we had a speaker at the Digital Forge the other week, and the point she was making is, don't invest in female entrepreneurs or women-led companies because you're ticking a box. Do it because actually they're more successful.
Absolutely. And
that actually is the way to look at this, isn't it? Rather than doing the box ticking exercise, which nobody really wants to do. You should be doing it because put it on a spreadsheet, you're going to make more money. And that seems to be a good reason to do it. So what advice would you give to a 16-year-old girl who wants to be an engineer today?
Make sure you know what branch of engineering you're going to do. Make sure that you're prepared for working with lots and lots of different people. And remember, you really can do all these things. You really can do it.
It's like everything in life. You need to see it to believe. You need to see people like you, listen to people like you that have actually gone through this and done it. It really is so important. So one of the things that always makes me smile is there's a building in Sheffield with the name, well, there's several buildings with the name Liversidge on it, and it's your name. And when you were coming to our house, and I remember saying to my daughter, "Oh yeah, Pam Liversidge is coming." She goes, "Oh, I know that building." So the University of Sheffield named an engineering building after you. That is such a rare honour. How did that come about?
That is definitely pinch me moment.
Yeah.
I got a phone call from the head of the Faculty of Engineering. Mike rang me up and said, would you like to come and have tea with us? And the Vice-Chancellor will be there. And I thought, here we go again, another committee to chair. I thought, oh, okay. Yeah. So I turned up for a cup of tea with the Vice-Chancellor and with the head of the Faculty of Engineering. And they said, right, well, we would like to ask you a big favour. And I thought, here it comes. Which committee is this? And they said, we'd like to name the new postgraduate engineering building after you. And I think my mouth just dropped. And I said, are you sure? There's lots more eminent people than me, lots more important women. Why would you want me? And they said, well, we want somebody who's local, whose name will be recognised, who's very much a manufacturing engineer, and whose name will make a difference. And I can't tell you how many people say to me, oh,
you're that one. You're that Pam Liversidge.
And actually, I think it has delivered what they wanted.
It must be incredible. It must feel incredible because, you know, we see these buildings in Sheffield that, I mean, they're there for hundreds of years with the name on it, mapping, all of this stuff. How does it feel to be on that list alongside all the great and the good?
Very, very humbling. And I suppose it's imposter syndrome. I keep looking and thinking, that surely can't be me. And it's a bit like having a portrait in the Cutlers Company. And I look at it and I think, well, firstly, she's not got the wrinkles I've got. And secondly, I've got a portrait amongst all these really important people.
If somebody told you as a, I don't know, 13-year-old, 18-year-old going into university that this was going to happen to you, would you have believed it?
No, not at all. Not for 1 minute. Not 1 minute. But
I mean, it is an incredible story. So looking back across engineering, business, civic leadership and education, what are you most proud of?
It's difficult to choose, but probably being president of my institution, because that was almost an international message. That was a very public platform that allowed me to make a difference. And that's really what it's about.
Yeah, I can completely see that. So I know you weren't born in Sheffield, but do you feel like you're a Sheffield native now?
I think I'm almost accepted. It is very much home, and I'm very loyal and very passionate about it.
What do you think Sheffield still needs to do? What are we missing here?
I think we're missing some confidence and some pride.
What do you mean by that?
It is you find people talk the city down instead of talking the city up. We still have some, apart from the Cutlers Company, the cathedral's beautiful, Graves Art Gallery, the green spaces. It's a beautiful city. And then we have some amazing technology like the AMRC. And yet the average person doesn't seem to see that. They see a rather tired city centre that the council keeps trying to change, and hopefully the next changes will be successful. And I don't think they've got as much pride in the city as they used to have. But that's just Sheffield, and we are a region. I mean, South Yorkshire is more than Sheffield.
I think a lot of it's also confidence. As you said, we've got some great assets here. We've got a fantastic university, some great businesses that are springing up left, right, and centre. I think we're the fastest growing startup city in the country.
And how many people know it?
Yeah, I know. It's very frustrating. So finally, if you could speak to that young woman arriving at Aston University as the only female engineering student out of, I think you said 120, what would you tell her?
Don't worry so much.
That's a great way to end. That was Pam Liversidge, OBE-DL, FReng, an engineer, entrepreneur, reformer and trailblazer, someone who spent a lifetime opening doors that had previously been closed, and someone whose legacy continues through the engineers, innovators and leaders who follow behind her. If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow The Digital Forge on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube so you never miss an episode. You can also meet speakers like Pam live at The Digital Forge, where founders, investors, academics, and industry leaders come together to explore the future of technology, innovation, and regional growth. Find upcoming events and join the community at forgeforgrowth.com. For more essays, analysis, and commentary from myself on AI, technology, work, and society, subscribe to The Sunday Signal at thesundaysignal.ai. Thanks for listening.